How to construct a project plan. In this video, I'm going to cover the steps or the key components for how to create a project plan. So would you like to know what key things are done during planning and what they're for and why it's important? If so, you've come to the right video. Stay with us. Okay, so I love this topic. Planning is the key to everything that we do in construction. In fact, in the book, How Big Things Get Done, they say from a statistical and historical standpoint, the projects that do well have a plan using the right system with a trained team that has experience and experimentation. And so this pre-construction duration before we actually go out there and do the work on site is absolutely key. If you don't, you will have really horrible numbers. Out of over 16,000 representative projects in the database, as referenced by the author of How Big Things Get Done, I think it's 47.9% finish on budget. Only like 7.9, or I'll just round up, 8% of projects finish on budget on time, and only 0.5% out of all 16,000 projects are on budget on time as the owner wanted. And so we must do this. This video is not going to cover everything that you need to know about planning, but it will give you the key concepts and the things that you must remember. So stay with us. This is huge. The first thing that we want to do is put together what's called a macro level takt plan. Now, if you want to know what a takt plan is, you're going to reference the book Takt Planning, and then there's a book called Takt Steering and Control. For the specifics of this, it's not hard to learn, it's not hard to use, and we have free templates on leantakt.com. And all of this in a process is put together in what we're going to give you in the description below is a link to the book Elevating Pre-Construction Planning. But this is key. What we want to do is create in a time by location format. We want to create what's called a macro level takt plan. And this is going to show you the entire project strategy all on one page. And because we have diagonal trade flow, because we have good sequences, and because we have good what we call interdependence ties that take us to the project end date, we are able to create or find out what the overall total project duration should be on this macro level takt plan. This is essentially an A3 for production planning. So you can see, going from foundations to superstructure to interiors to exterior, all the way down here to commissioning. Review with your team, have an overall strategic plan so you know the duration and you know the milestones along the way. Now, this is key because when you're doing your plan, you must have the right dates for procurement, you must have the right leveling and overall plan with your trade partners, and you must have the money. And so the oversight, the actual project management team here will need to be allocated for this project, and we will want the general conditions to reflect their salary or their general labor rate that we're billing the client for your general conditions. So this is absolutely key. We must have this on every project. The second thing that we need to have here in reference to our overall plan is the logistics map. And there's very few things that I like better than this. And there's typically about 6 types by the time you get done. One is safety, one is wayfinding, the other one is mobilization, make ready, superstructure, interiors and exterior, and then the closeout. So at least 6 different types. But your logistics is going to make sure that you understand things like, where is the trailer going to be? Where is the laydown going to be? What kind of worker care do we need? Where is parking? How are we getting around the project site? Do I have a forklift? Do I have a crane? Do I have a hoist on one of the buildings, right? What is going on from a logistics standpoint? If you review this in accordance with your overall macro level takt plan, your overall strategy, you'll know, and this is key, you'll not only know what the plan is to share with your trades, you'll not only make sure that you can support the overall strategic plan, but again, from a budget standpoint, you can fill out your general requirements. So general conditions was basically your staff for your project management. Indirects, right? Your general requirements are things like your toilets, your site fencing, your trailer, the things that are not a part of the cost of doing the work. They're an indirect, but they're for the logistical support of the entire project site. So the second thing is definitely logistics. All right, so let's go on to number 3. Once you have the basics of your plan, and I will add on here another one, is that in your macro level takt plan, you'll also have your zone maps. So let's say, for instance, that this is your building, right? What is the zoning strategy? Zone number 1, 2, and 3, let's say by floor. And this could be in an axonometric 3D perspective as well if it's more complex. But let's say you have a building, you need to understand the zoning, how you're going to break your building up, because that will tie into how many zones you have broken out on your macro level takt plan, and it directly correlates with how fast you're going. And the reason that I mention this is so I could take you to item number 3. If you want to make a plan, once you have your macro takt plan with your zone strategy, with the logistics, you'll want to know, hey, what are my trade bottlenecks, which you will see in the diagonal, and do I have a zone bottleneck inside any of the phases or anywhere on the project? So I'm just going to go ahead and write that. A trade bottleneck means that you have a trade partner that is going at a pace or a duration, or is going so slow that it's affecting the overall total project duration. And then the other one, when I said zone, if you have a zone that is super complex, a hard to reach area, or something that's just constrained on the site, you need to know these, because that's the main thing you'll want to focus on and optimize as a part of your project plan. Now I'm going to take you to number 4. The reason that we need to know our trade and our zone bottlenecks is because there's a really cool system. It's not the typical oil and gas advanced work packaging, but I will call it advanced work packaging, where you at least design to the work package that you're going to install for the support of the install, and you do enough preparation to optimize the duration. See, typically in CPM, the critical path method, which is not what I'm talking about here, but they call it crashing. That means where you just basically throw money at the trade partner, say get more resources, work overtime, and get the activity done. That's actually not how you do it. If you have a trade bottleneck specifically in this example, you will want to make sure that before you ever start the project, that how we deliver, let's say that this is where your bottleneck is, how we deliver to the install is well identified. How we fabricate the materials for that install is intelligently designed. And how we design, and I'll put DES, is how we design to this work package will affect the duration. So the question is, what duration do I need here for my trade bottleneck or for key bottlenecks inside the system? And the question is, how can I deliver it differently to enable the crew? How can I fabricate it differently to enable the crew? How can I design it differently with possibly a different configuration or material type or equipment type to enable the work of that crew? And that's absolutely crucial. So in your planning, you're really going to want to look at this. And so I'm mentioning things that are typically not done, but that should be done. And so that is number 4. And I tell you that because there's another secret. Number 5, you need to look at your zoning as a part of your project plan. Again, like I've shown you in previous videos, if you have a 2-zone strategy and you go to 4, right, then your overall duration will be cut in half, and then you will see that the overall duration for these activities takes less time, and you still have this duration plus this duration is the same down here, but the overall total project duration has shortened. And so what we need to look at are zoning strategies, right? If you want to speed up your project, when you come between the macro and the norm, meaning from your contractual promise to your production plan, you'll want to get smaller zones, and it will bring in your overall project duration for the purpose of gaining buffers. And that's number 6 that I want to mention in this video, is that we're bringing this forward, right? We're doing this planning, we're identifying our bottlenecks, we're designing to the work package, and we're rezoning so that we can gain buffers in the system. We will need buffers in order for us to be able to execute the project properly, to match and hit the target for our reference class, and to abate or mitigate risks in the overall strategic plan. And so I hope you really enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please note it in the comments below. The other thing is we're going to link you to the book Elevating Pre-Construction Planning so that you can check this out in a highly visible format. We really hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.